Smart Sound.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the March meeting of the Mountain View Computer Users Group. So let's move right along so we can get rid of all this trivia stuff. I am the president, John Buno. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
We have
Hello.
other officers who actually do all the work. I'm just a figurehead. I'm going to introduce the treasurer last because she's got a report. We have two vice presidents. Mike McLean handles our Windows topics. Mike, there we go. He raised his hand. And Barry, who is wearing a very strange eye visor, is our MVCUG.
Since we had cold weather snow this morning, I figured we could use a little rainbow.
Moving right along, Carolyn is our treasurer, and she's got a treasurer's report.
If we have $781.82 in checking and $1,125.16 in savings.
So moving right along, amenities, we are in a virtual meeting, which means there will be breaks. Now you have to get your own coffee and bagels, donuts, toast, whatever. And we do have Zoom available for anybody who's interested for larger groups. Our license, all you have to do is ask one of the officers. We'll set up a Zoom session for you, and you can host up to 100 people. Professional consultation, this alone pays for your membership every year. Barry and I offer virtual consultation. Most of it is without charge. If we can do it via by telephone, Zoom session. You don't charge for Zoom sessions, right, Barry?
No, it depends on the length and the extent.
Yeah, okay. So you did the same I do.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, Zoom sessions may not have a charge, but if we have to expend lots of time and effort, there's a very small charge. And we're significantly cheaper than anybody else in town. So those are the numbers to call us on. How to ask questions in the participants window. You'll see a raise hand. That's how you raise your hand to alert us that you want to ask a question. If you raise your hand in the window, we may or may not see that, but this is a good way to get our attention. And then one of the officers, if whoever is speaking doesn't catch it, will alert the speaker, says, hey, you got a question. Rules of engagement, please mute your microphone. And please do this because we can hear you talking if you forget to do that. Video is optional. We don't have to see you, but if you want us to see you, that's great. Raise your hand to ask a question. And if you're on a Macintosh, I strongly recommend you turn on the Do Not Disturb. This keeps you from being interrupted with email messages, notifications, whatever. Are there any questions about the user group itself? This morning, we've got lots and lots of share tips. Okay, the first one comes from Mike. So we can all see you. There we go. Go for it, Mike. You have to unmute, Mike.
I knew that. Okay, and let me share my screen. Share. All right. Okay, something that I just came across that I didn't know Windows 10 had put in recently is something they're now calling the Windows timeline, not to be confused with Time Machine or anything like that. But it is a handy little way of controlling everything that you're doing on your Windows PC. To get to it, on your keyboard, you should have a little Windows button and a Windows key, which I normally don't use for much of anything. Turns out that if you hold down the Windows key and hit Tab, it comes up with both the timeline and a virtual desktop manager. So if I look at this timeline down, the virtual desktop is at the top here. This is the desktop I'm showing. I can go to a second desktop, which is actually just this desktop, my primary desktop elongated. And I can add another virtual desktop if needed. What this does is it shows everything that I've been working on over the last couple of days. Not that I've been doing too much on this system. March 8th was much more interesting because I was actually working on these. But it's an easy way. I believe what they've done here is just taken the old task switcher and upgraded it a bit so that you can go back and forth. But this actually keeps track of what you were doing, so you can easily bring things back up that you were working on over the past several days. Now, this is only showing about 4 days worth. And let me make sure I had a note here about that. Yeah, there's an option here, see more days in timeline, which I haven't turned on because then your activity history is then stored on Microsoft servers instead of locally. And I didn't really see a need for that myself. But if you actually turn this on, then it stores up to 30 days of timeline. I've only got about 4 or 5 days here. And also, once it's turned on, you will then be able to see your history across all your devices in which you're signed in with your Microsoft account. So if I turn that on, I would then be able to see my history on any device I've used, my iPhone, my iPad, my laptop, my desktop, all of that. So I'd actually be able to get to any thing I've been working on from any device I've used. I don't see myself needing this that much, so I haven't turned that on myself. But this is just a neat little thing that I came across that I wasn't aware that they'd put in there. That was one thing. I was watching a Microsoft blog earlier this week, and they mentioned that it seems like Microsoft's focus is now a lot more on the enterprise. They're putting a lot of neat stuff into Windows 10, but they're not telling anybody about it. They're not making any announcements. So you kind of really have to dig to see what they're up to on the client front. But this is one little thing that I found, which I thought was rather neat. So,
that really is.
Yeah.
So they finally have doing something with that Windows button.
Yes. I've never used it for much of anything, and all of a sudden
I didn't think it actually did anything. I just thought it was for show and tell.
It will bring up. I know if you press it by itself, it will bring up the task, the start button, the start manager.
Oh, it does.
That's about it.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions for Mike on that great tip? Barry's got his hand up.
Yeah, I was curious about the the longer history being only stored on Microsoft servers. There's not an option to store it locally at all?
Nope. If it's stored locally, it only stores about 5 days worth. Everything I've seen is that if you want longer than that, then you have to turn on Microsoft's access. Which, yeah, everything else being equal, I saw no reason to do that myself.
Yeah.
Not that I really care that Microsoft knows that I'm working on an Excel spreadsheet or whatever, but general principles. Jim's
What
not
are they doing with that data, and why? I don't understand the logic.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got plenty of storage, why can't it's just?
Exactly.
Is it storing some kind of virtual state that it's going to restore or something, or is it just going to take you to the document that you were working on? I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be that much to store.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much a matter of storage. Well, their big thing is that you can get to it from any device, and that you have to have a central server for.
Oh, I see. So, okay. So for multiple machines, I see.
Right.
Our next one is a Mac OS tip from Barry on reopen tabs in Windows and Safari. Barry, it's all yours.
This is the first time for me with my new setup here. I got a webcam, and so I'm actually using the new Mac Mini for this with my big screens. So I've got a page open, or a window open here in Safari, and actually I need to share my entire screen. Sorry about that. So you can see my menu bar. You can see my entire desktop now with the dock and everything.
Yes.
Okay. Now, how do you get rid of this Zoom floating heads-up display with all the stuff on it? It's right in the way. I know you don't see it, but it's in my way. Okay. I'm just gonna have to make my window a little smaller and get below it. There we go. Okay. All right, let's just make this bigger to hide the background a little bit, but you can see my menu. So this is a feature that allows you to go back and reopen windows and tabs that you may have inadvertently closed, or you think, oh, I had that open a few days ago. Where is it? And instead of trying to do another web search or something like that, in the history menu, you have in this third section down some options that allow you to get back to some recently closed content. So the first item, recently closed, gives you a list, and it is broken up into window groups. So this second group here is several tabs that were open in the same window. And you can select this, and all of those tabs will be opened again in a new window with the one that was first in the list foremost. You can also go back and look at just single pages that happen to be listed here. They were in a window by themselves, or you have your the recent history at the very bottom they're just individual pages, web pages. You can actually also open the last closed window. Here's a window I had open all by itself, and I had closed it earlier, and that was the last one I had closed. So that's the one now that comes back. And if you happen to close all your windows and quit Safari and come back and you want to reopen everything from the last time you had Safari open, just choose this last one in this group, reopen all windows from last session. It's going to duplicate this one that I had open before over here. But so it's a kind of a quick shortcut based on your very recent history. If you happen to think that, oh, I just had that web page open the other day, yesterday, or the day before, and you don't have to go clear back through to show your entire history to try to find it. If it was fairly recent, this section here, recently closed, last closed, and last session, will get you probably what you need to find. Any questions?
Yeah, thanks. I missed that one. I could have used that yesterday. I had that exact problem.
Yeah, and sometimes it's weird. I haven't had this happen recently, and it may have been due to a new software with Big Sur and the update to Safari that came with it, bugs squashed. But I remember in the past where I would open Safari. I mean, I usually just quit Safari with all the windows open that I have open.
Yep, same here.
Tabs. And then when I go back, I've had the occasion where I would reopen it. It wouldn't be the way I left it.
So you've experienced that too.
So yeah, I discovered, and these features of in the history menu are not brand new. They're not just in Big Sur. They were there. I think they go back to High Sierra, because I remember using it on the Mac or the iMac I had before this. So I discovered, there's a last session, and I would select that, and then all my windows would come back. So it's a nice little command to remember.
No kidding. Okay, so let's go on to the next tip and trick. We got a bunch of good ones today. Next one is iOS tips. Okay, we've got two of them. One's from Barry and one's from me. We'll let Barry go again since he's all revved up. And
revved up.
Yeah.
Okay, I gotta get set up though. Okay, so this tip is removing apps from and adding them back into your iPhone home screen. So here I am. Now this is a new feature in iOS 14 and beyond. So if you have an iPhone that runs iOS 14, this is available to you. This home screen doesn't look too different, except for you see in the bottom right, this larger square is actually a widget. And I'm not going to talk about widgets, but this is one of the other new features of iOS 14. But other than that, it looks fairly the same. I even have some other home screens where I have apps in folders, some apps, a second page of folders, and a couple of apps just loose on the screen here. One of the things that you can do in iOS 14 is hide an app. This is not removing it from your phone. It's just removing it from your home screen. So let's go over here, and I have this, I have a DuckDuckGo app here. This is a special, you've heard of DuckDuckGo, I think, probably. It's a search engine that's doesn't track you. Doesn't gather personal information in order to show you advertisements. They have their own app. I mean, you can choose it as one of the defaults in Safari on your phone and your Mac, but they have their own app too. Anyway, the DuckDuckGo app, if I don't want to see it on my home screen, I can touch it and hold, and I get this menu. And you see the top item, it says remove app. So if I tap on that one, then I'm going to get a prompt to ask me exactly what I mean. Do I want to delete it completely off my phone? Those are the choices. Or just remove it from my home screen. And removing it from my home screen just hides it, basically. So I'm going to tap that, and you see the app icon goes away. Now it's still on my phone. I can do a search. I can search for duck, and there's DuckDuckGo. I can tap it and it'll launch the app. So let's just quit that for now. That's how you hide an app. One of the other options in iOS 14 is to even hide home screens. So if I tap and hold on a blank area below this widget that shows the weather, I go into jiggly mode. And then if I tap on the 4 dots at the bottom that shows me how many screens there are, I go to this edit pages interface where I can turn off home screens. And you see the little check mark underneath them. I can uncheck that one, and I can uncheck that one. Say done, and then done again at the top right. And now this is my only home screen. If I swipe over to the right to where those folder screens used to be, I go directly into the app library screen. The app library is always there. This is another new feature of iOS 14. I think we touched on it when we talked about iOS a couple of months ago or so. This is where, if you want to restore an app to your home screen, you have to go. So whether you have home screens showing or not, if I want that DuckDuckGo app to come back, I can see it in that recently added square at the top right. So if I tap and hold again, I get another menu, and one of the options is to delete it completely. It says it's already hidden, but the second one down here, add to home screen. I can tap on that one, and it adds it back to my home screen, so I can now see the icon again. And notice that it added a home screen. So this is my main screen, and now I do have a second one where just that one icon is. If I tap and hold and go back to the edit pages, I still have the 2 folder pages there that are hidden, no check mark, but the one at the bottom right with the DuckDuckGo app has got a check mark, and it's showing again. So that's how you can hide and then add back in an app on your iOS home screen on iPhone. Any questions?
So you retrieve the screens that you hid by doing the check, correct?
Correct.
Edit pages.
So
Okay.
yeah, tap and hold on a blank area, tap on the dots at the bottom, right above the dock, and then you turn on or off the check marks underneath the pages of your home screens. So you've got multiple screens. So now I've got 4 screens again. And DuckDuckGo's all by itself. And the app library is still there all the way to the right. And these categories and groupings are what Apple does for you. You don't have control over where things go. So they do have some intelligence built into it. At the top two, for instance, suggestions and recently added. So apps that you've recently downloaded from the App Store in that top right section. And suggestions is a little AI that, based on your use of your device, the system thinks, oh, he might want to launch one of those now. That's that. Any others?
Yeah, I've got one, Barry, and this brought this up from your presentation. One of the things I find really lacking, and I'm hoping you may have found a utility, is icon and Windows and folder management on iOS. Because if you need to move like that DuckDuckGo, move it from the page where it was on to a different page, it messes all the other icons up. And when you go into the screen view, there's no way to manage the screens and put them in a different order.
Right. Yeah, you're correct. They don't have a way of like rearranging these. So if you want those folders or the apps in them on a different page, yeah, it's manually changing it. And there used to be a feature in iTunes years ago where you could manage home screens, and it was actually much easier to do it on your Mac.
Oh,
because you could select multiple apps at a time and drag them around. But if you want to move this, you've got to tap and hold and then drag it to the edge and go to the next screen. And then they move out of your way, or you may accidentally get it in the wrong folder.
yes.
And so, yeah, no, there's no, Apple's hasn't changed that. Unfortunately, their attempt, I think, is, well, don't worry about organizing it anymore. Just turn them off. And actually, that's what I usually do. I usually only have that one page on. And you'll notice at the very top, I've got 8 grouped together. That's actually also another widget. It's called a smart widget, and it surfaces the apps that the system thinks I'm going to want to launch based on the time of day and my usage patterns. And it's really pretty good, because usually when I unlock my phone and I see it in the top 8, I'm usually finding the app that I'm looking to launch there. If not, I usually just pull down and search for the one I want and don't worry about it. I very seldom actually go to the app library to launch anything, but you can. I mean, I could launch IMDb directly from the app library, but if I see it right there in the group. So, this is a place where you can go to find and launch them. And if there are more than 4, you tap on the little smaller grid, and then it opens the entire grouping to find what you want. But I very seldom do that. I either surfaces in the top 8 for me, or I do a search and type the name of the app I want. And then I don't have all the clutter of the folders and stuff. Now, I did take time to organize the folders. I had done that before iOS 14, so I kept that organization going, but I rarely go into a folder anymore to find an app to launch it. Yeah, Apple hasn't, made it any easier to do that, except for to ignore it.
Yeah.
I will make one comment. If you have a Windows machine available to you, since Windows still uses iTunes, you can still go in and organize it the old way.
You're kidding, really?
Yep.
What was that?
That's still in the iTunes version on Windows?
Yeah, Windows still uses iTunes. So if you actually connect to a Windows machine that has iTunes on it, you can still do the manual organization that way.
Son of a gun. I finally found a reason to have a Windows machine.
Wow. Because they even took that out of iTunes for the Macintosh, I don't know, 2 or 3 versions before they got rid of iTunes on the Mac.
We still got it for Windows.
Oh, man.
Good. I'm going to have to clank up Parallels and see if I can do it through Parallels.
There you go.
Fantastic. Our next tip comes from Fearless Leader, and it's an iOS mail tip. So what I'm going to do is go into mail. Yeah, mail. And this is a typical list of mail messages. And what we normally do is we go in to read a message, and we come down here. If we want to do something, we tap on the arrow, and that brings up our reply all, forward, trash, flag, and do that. Well, there's another way of doing that. And what we can do is press and hold on the message, and that brings up almost the same menu. Okay, we have reply all, forward, mark, which allows us to flag the message and to notify me if messages from the same person or same subject come in. So a lot of people don't know about this menu right here, which makes it, if you have to get a lot of email messages, a lot faster to get stuff in. So that's my tip for the week. Any questions on that one?
That was a good one. I had forgotten about that.
Yeah, I didn't know about that. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
I tend to swipe over and then get the menu, but that way. But
Yes,
tapping and holding is good.
makes it a lot faster, especially if you just doing the same thing like marking messages or doing a quick reply and you know what the message is about. Okay, moving right along, we have share a favorite app. And we've got 3 really good ones. Well, actually 2 really good ones and one that's not so good. So we're going to start out with the 2 good ones. Mike gets to geek out on Linux, and I've been waiting for this one. I knew this one was coming.
I knew that Microsoft has been interested in Linux for quite some time, and a few years ago, they actually did start coming up with ways to run Linux under Windows. And about a year ago, they actually did come up with a way to build Linux into the Windows subsystem layer. So essentially what this means is they've come up with an easy way, if you want to experiment with Linux, to install it under Windows and use it there. There's a number of ways to do this. Previously, normally you would install some kind of virtual machine like Oracle virtual machine, and then load Linux underneath that. This makes it a little bit easier. And the first thing is you have to make sure that your Windows 10 is updated past, I think it was the Windows Fall Creator 2018 update. So I'm going to check that here. And to do that, I go to the Start button. I go to my settings. I go to System. And then I go down to About. And under Windows Specifications, where it says OS Build, it has what my current number is. And all I care about is it needs to be newer than 14393. I have 19042, so that does it. So I actually do have this capability. So the next thing I do is I need to turn on the Windows subsystem for Linux. By default, this is turned off. So in order to get that, much like they've done with the iOS with applications, Windows has played with where they store things. I've gotten to the point that I don't care anymore where they put anything. I use my search button to find whatever I want. And this was something I hadn't really had occasion to look for recently. The place where you can turn on and off different parts of Windows. Turns out that if you just type into the search button, turn Windows features on and off. Okay, yeah, you hit turn Windows features off and on. Since of course I'm running as a user, not an administrator, it wants a user account. So let me add that in. That way, if I get any bad guys that actually get into my system, they can't do anything more than normal user can, unless they know my admin password.
Well, that's where that's located.
I hadn't had occasion to look for it, so I didn't realize that it's kind of hard to find without doing it that way. So turn Windows, search for that. And here's all the different things that they offer that I can turn off and on. And what I've already turned on is down here, Windows Subsystem for Linux. I have that checked. If you haven't had it checked, then you'll have to check that, and then you'll have to restart your computer in order to get that. So, okay, I've got that turned on. All you need to do is go to the Microsoft Store and download Linux. By default, there is an icon for the Microsoft Store in the taskbar. I got rid of that a long time ago because I don't use it. So again, I have to do it this way. I start typing Microsoft, there's the store, bring it up. Here's all the things I could purchase from Microsoft, which I normally don't do anyway, but I can search for Linux. Here are the options that I've got for Linux. A number of options. For a user that just wants to play with Linux and see what it's like, I just select Ubuntu. That is a primary version that is very user friendly. Kali Linux is fun. That's actually designed more for security testing. It's got a lot of neat security tools built into it. So I actually did that in order to save time. I downloaded Ubuntu and told it to install from here.
Are there any others other than Kali and Ubuntu?
There's a few things. There's a couple of versions of Ubuntu here. There's Suzy, and I think that's about all that they actually offer here. Oh, they also have Debian.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So I went ahead and I did that. All this gives me is a terminal version of Linux, command line only. That's all this does so far. So I go down to my command window again, and I happen to know that since I installed and configured this to bring it up, all I need is to bring up one of the terminal windows. I always like to use the born again shell or bash. And here is my Linux version that is running. And it's looking, and here I am. And here, from here, I can go ahead and let's see, present working directory. It tells me where I am, list everything that's in this directory.
Can you run Linux applications from here?
Yes, you can. Matter of fact, the tutorial I found, the next thing it has you do is do an update and upgrade everything else. Now, I was going to go further. That's all I'm going to do with here today. I was going to go further because the tutorial I found actually then has you go ahead and find a desktop so you can have a graphical interface running. I went through all that, and I actually got it to work the first time. I have not been able to get it to work since. And I'm too rusty on Linux to really dig into it. So, but yeah, from here on in, you can create a full version, working version of Linux, complete with the graphic interface and everything. You just have to know enough Linux in order to navigate this.
Wow, that's
So
impressive.
that's as far as I'm going with that today. Like I said, I just wanted to let you all know that this is available for those that want to play around with Linux a little bit. This is an easier way to do it than we've seen before. Questions or comments? All right, I'm going to exit this and turn it back over. All right, there you go, John.
Okay. Next up, and this can work out just right. Barry loves documentaries, Curiosity Stream, and I'm really curious about Curiosity Stream. Barry, it is all yours.
Curiosity Stream is a documentary service, a documentary streaming service. Here it is, curiositystream.com. And they have, it's all documentaries. So if you're interested in documentary video production, not how to do it, consuming it, they have thousands of documentaries on all kinds of topics. Here's the pricing. Annually, you can pay $20 a year. Now, I have a link that I'm going to share. I'll have to look it up. I won't be able to paste it in right now. I'll put it in the chat before we finish today, and then I'll be a part of the link list that I provide to put on the website. But there's a discount offer through another content creator that I follow that'll get you this service and another one called Nebula for $11 a year instead of $20 for just this one. Nebula is another streaming service, but it's a place that's owned and operated by the creators themselves. And one of the creators, one of the people that I follow on YouTube, I started on YouTube and now I watch his channel here, is Rene Ritchie. He's a tech analyst, and he basically covers the Apple ecosphere and related topics. As you may know, if you watch YouTube, you're subject to, especially if you log into a Gmail account or a Google account to be able to interact on YouTube. It's watching, well, even if you're not logged in, it is tracking your behavior. It's tracking what you're watching. And it's serving you advertising based on that, as well as other ways that it can track you across other websites. It's commercial free. It's as you can see here, it's got a $50 annual plan, $5 a month, and there's no commercials. And the content creators usually put extra content in here that they don't put on YouTube or other places they might be sharing their video. They have a discount code, and I can share it with you guys. I'll find the link and share it, where you can sign up for Nebula using this discount code, or Curiosity Stream, either one. I think you sign up for one or the other, and you get both for about $12 a year. Maybe it's $11.49 or something. I can't remember exactly. For your first year anyway. I don't know how it goes after that. I just recently subscribed to them. I'm not actually signed in here, but they've got Curiosity Stream has all kinds of documentaries. I mean, I'm interested in history, science, space. You know, they have a whole set of documentaries about the Apollo moon program, as well as what NASA is doing now in terms of planning to go back to the moon and then beyond, if you're interested in that kind of thing. They have nature documentaries. I watched a very interesting, very short, it was only about 30 minutes, but it was all about the ecosphere on the surface of the water in the still areas of the reeds and foliage, you know, next to the land, and all the little bugs and critters that live right on the surface or right below the surface, and how they interact. And excellent photography. There's all, like I said, there's all kinds. Anyway, if you're interested in documentaries, I can recommend Curiosity Stream. And as I said, I'll find that link where you can get a discount, and you can look at Nebula. They have these are some of the creators that are going down here. Let's browse Nebula's channels here. Here's Renee Ritchie, it's about the only one I look at here. He does daily news analysis and insight into cultural and personal impact of Apple and related technologies. So that's, you know, that's how I found Nebula, was following him on YouTube. I've not really looked at anything else here, but all of these channels are content creators that all these people have partnered together to create this streaming service, so that they could offer it without commercials and without tracking and without gathering your personal information in order to feed an algorithm to try to show you something that it thinks you want to watch. So that's how that works. And I will hand it back.
Okay. Well, one thing I can say about the YouTube is their algorithm's not very good. Because the ads it brings up is nothing I'm ever interested in.
I know.
Now, I do want to bring up a YouTube channel that I really think you'd be interested in. I think a lot of others would be interested. It's called Tasting History. It's done by a man called Max Miller, who used to be an film editor for Disney. And when he got furloughed, he needed something to do to get income. So he has a big interest in food and history.
Oh.
And he goes through, I mean, he's done such things as butterbeer, the true medieval butterbeer, which is significantly different than you get at Universal. Actually tastes good. And he goes what they ate at the Babylonian New Year's Festival. So it is one of the best YouTube programs I have ever watched. It is well worth going. We binge on it. We've seen every episode, and we look forward to the ones that come out every Thursday. It's one of our must see.
Roman meals, medieval meals.
Yeah, Roman meals, medieval meals, Oriental.
Cool.
I mean, it is really great. So we got one more to go before we take our break. And this one is going to be relatively short. This one is for me, and I can't demonstrate it because it really is very difficult to demonstrate. It's called Hush. Now, most of you are on iOS 14 and seen the stupid little messages when you go into Safari about blocking ads and all that nonsense. Well, if you want to get rid of those and block a lot of ads, Hush is free, and it gets rid of that window that keeps coming up, and it blocks, I'd say, at least 50% of all the ads that come in, the pop-up ads on iOS devices. I've been really pleased with it. With that, this is a perfect time to take our break. We're going to take a 5-minute break. Unless we have questions. We have any questions up to this point? When we come back, it will be time for the Mike and Barry Show, the sequel. So we'll see you all in about 5 minutes. You take care. Okay, we are back on now. Well, what we're going to do now is we are going to turn it over to Mike and Barry, or Barry and Mike, take your pick. And they're going to present the sequel to the Mike and Barry Show.
Sequel.
Yes, it is all yours, guys. Take it away.
Unfortunately, you can't hear our theme music.
That's a real shame.
I know it is. I would have to set up a different sound system to capture and share computer sound as well as this microphone on my headset.
No, there should be in your preferences for Zoom, computer audio. You have that turned on?
Yeah, but it's turned on. But the computer audio is what's in system settings, and that's set to my headset.
Yeah.
There's not a way to have multiple sound sources unless you have something else. Like what comes to mind is Rogue Amiga's audio hijack, where I could probably pipe different internal sound sources into a single sound source to send to Zoom. But it's something I've never done, and I know that it can be done either with software and or hardware, but that's just a little detail. We're not about the theme music, right, Mike? We're about the tips.
That's right. The information.
The information. And of course, celebrating pie, which we've already talked about. Tomorrow's Pie Day. Have a piece of pie and do some math. Okay, so we're starting off with the computer lexicon term of the month. And that happens to be emoji, since it plays right into one of our how-to tips today. Back in the day, before, when everything was just text, we had what was called emoticons, where you could try to express some emotion with plain text using characters like colons and close parentheses to look like a smiley face on its side, or whichever way it goes. Things like that. So I'm not going to read this out completely. This is a Wikipedia thing, but emojis is a way of expressing through pictograms, basically, instead of text. And there's some examples in this definition here. And it comes basically from Japan. The interesting thing I thought about from this was that the Japanese word picture, moji character, picture character, doesn't actually have any relationship to the English words emotion or emoticon. But we're using emoji now to express emotional context to plain text in messages and emails and all kinds of contexts now. And in our first how-to, we're going to explore some different ways you can use emoji, both in sharing message, expressing communications of some kind, and I have some for just within the interface of the Macintosh. I don't know if Michael's got something like that too, but we'll find out. Emoji Character Set is basically code that is overseen by what's called Unicode Consortium. And the Unicode is the code that's used by computer devices now to keep track of all the glyphs, which is the term that's used for each character, like a letter in the alphabet or a number, or in the case of emoji, the pictogram, the picture character, is the code that keeps track of that. And when you type the right thing or insert the right thing, it will show a picture instead of text. Okay, so here's a website for the unicode.org, which is the Unicode Consortium. And you can see they've got different characters in different languages. One of the characteristics of computers these days, of course, is they're worldwide. We got, you know, all kinds of languages, and not all languages are like Roman languages that have the same set of characters. Latin languages, Latin-related languages. We got a lot of languages, especially in the Far East, that have lots more characters than our alphabet. And so Unicode is a way of keeping track of and expressing those characters that are beyond just one language. As you can see on this screen, I can zoom in a little bit here. Each of these characters, there's a little number below that, a letter U plus another 4 characters. That's the computer code equivalent for the glyph that's above it. So your computer operating system is keeping track of these characters based on the Unicode. And that includes things like pictures, like smiley faces or laughing faces, or a girl on a surfboard. So that's what allows our computer to use different languages as well as different character sets, and these pictograms we know as emoji from the Japanese word. And it's probably also good to note that each system has its own artwork for emojis. The Unicode Consortium only oversees the descriptions of the different emojis, the titles of them, and of course the code associated with them. But it doesn't require a specific illustration or a specific style of drawing the digital pictogram. So on Mac OS and iOS, the Apple platforms devices, they all look the same, whichever device you're using them on. Microsoft has its own set of illustrations for the same characters, the same codes for Windows and their associated devices. And like other platforms have their own as well. Facebook has their own set of illustrations, and probably Twitter, and so you'll see emoji, the same basic kind of look or the same kind of character, but the specific way it's rendered could be different in terms of the illustration based on the device or the platform or the website or whatever you're looking at. Any question about emoji? Anybody using emoji? You have a question?
I'm not understanding the word that you're using for the picture. Is it glyph with a G, G-L-I-F-F or something like that?
Yeah, glyph. Yeah, G-L-Y-P-H.
Thank
And
you.
a glyph is just a term to designate a particular character in an alphabet. So the letter A is a glyph. The colon is a glyph. All right. Anybody else?
It's part of a word that indicates a drawing or something, like we say petroglyph.
Yeah.
It's just a part of the phrase that describes a way of showing something.
Correct. Richard.
How do you insert them?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Let's go to the next slide. All right, so this whole Mike and Barry show is how-to. And these how-tos were gathered at our last topic planning session last September. And these were things that didn't warrant their own meeting to cover. So we grouped them all together, and we're going to look at how to insert emojis. There's some other things we're going to learn how to do. Share some photos, manage your desktop debris, take screenshots, why you would take screenshots, and using Microsoft OneDrive if we get that, if we have enough time, and also any other questions or requests from the assembled Zoomers. So how do we insert emoji? Let's see. I'm going to move some other screens around here. I think we're going to look at inserting emoji on Windows first and then Mac OS section there. Are you ready, Mike?
I am always ready, Barry. I wasn't too sure about this topic when Barry first mentioned it to me, because emojis in Windows is not something I think about much, especially since Microsoft abandoned its own mobile phone some years ago. So I wasn't sure how much had been done on that. One thing I'm going to mention is, Barry, you talking about your Unicode reminded me of an old tip that people have been using for years. It turns out there's a very simple way to put some very simple symbols into a text document or a word processing document without too much hassle. All you have to do is you need to know a little bit of ASCII code, which is another coding system besides Unicode. I brought up a Notepad here on Windows, just the basic text editor. It turns out that if you press the Alt button and then the ASCII code for a character on the numeric keypad of your keyboard, and that's the thing, it has to be the actual calculator keypad. It can't be the numbers that are above the top of the keyboard. And if we do that, I'm going to put in Alt 1, and it inserts. Oh, it looks like a little smiley face there. Alt 2 puts in something else. Alt 3, you get the little heart, and so on and so forth. This was an old way of doing it, and as I said, Barry, you just reminded me of that when you were talking about the Unicode. This uses ASCII code, but it's one way to insert things in a document very quickly if you happen to know the ASCII code. Not many of us do. However, turns out that Windows actually has another method for doing this. And again, John, I found out another use for the Windows key. Turns out,
I can't wait.
if you have any kind of document open that you can type text into, turns out that if you press the Windows key and the period key, you get an emoji screen. I had no idea this was here. And it has all sorts of different types of emojis. Here's, you can search for them. Here's the most recently used. And since I've never used this, apparently just kind of put in a bunch of popular ones. I can give it the regular emojis, the way they're rendered as cartoons. I could go more for traditional ones, like what you do on the keypad, or I could go for symbols as well. I'm going to go back to this screen. On the bottom here, we have a search. We have different categories, smiley faces and animals. Over here, we have, oh, what is this? Oh, people. Different people ones, celebrations and parties, food, different foodstuffs, vehicles, and hearts. So again, pretty much everything that you can imagine. I went ahead and put that in there. I see on a Notepad, color doesn't make it in there, but you get the little heart anyway. So this is the best I can do for Windows for emojis. This works in any program that takes text, web page, word processor, text editor, anything you could type in, it should work. So as you can see, it's pretty extensive. There's a lot of different things. So you just want to play around and see what it's got that you might be interested in. So, again, since they don't have a mobile device, I'm a little limited on that. Yeah.
Yeah, just a quick, you said it was the Windows key and what else?
The Windows key and the period
And-
key.
I just want to point out to everybody, take note of what these little symbols look like on the Windows here. You'll see that they're going to look different when I show them on the Mac. So, but they're using the same code behind the scenes to insert whatever that character happens to be. So it looks like Notepad doesn't support color.
Yeah, I'm curious here. I'm going to bring up Word.
I bet you'll see it in color.
Windows key period. Yep. A little more fully realized.
And it actually behaves like any other text. I mean, you can select it and change the size, for instance, and make them really big.
If you really want to confuse people, you can use them as a password. And there's no way you can bust that one.
My favorite password, 8 asterisks. And that's actually about all I've got on emojis. That's all I was able to find for Windows. So Barry, I have a feeling that you probably have a lot more versatility in it.
I'll just make a comment. Because I do use Windows at work.
Mm-hmm.
Outlook supports it in email messages. It's the same kind of shortcut you can use, Windows period, and you can insert emojis into an email message. It also has its own little built-in interface, at least the web version of Outlook does. There's a little button with a smiley face, and when you click on it, you get that palette of all the emoji characters right in the side of the email window. A lot of places, I think you can use them on just about any computer platform. You just have to maybe go looking for it. All right, so I'll go back. We're going to look at desktop 1. You should be able to see my slide again here. Now we're going to look at inserting emoji on Mac OS. I've got like Mike, I've got just a plain text document in text edit on the Mac. And it's a very similar kind of thing. However, the keyboard shortcut on the Mac is a little different. You hold down the Control key and the Command key, and then tap the space bar, and you get the little floating palette, very similar to what Mike was showing on Windows. Now, I don't know, was there a search field for yours, Mike?
Yeah, there was.
Okay, so you can, if you just want to search for a word, you want to insert a happy emoji to express your happiness, you can type a word and get a subset of the entire emoji character set that might be what you're looking for. Here's a happy smiley face. And if I click on it once, it inserts it wherever the flashing insertion point is. And again, just like Mike said on Windows, this will work anywhere in Mac OS where you can enter and edit text. So it doesn't have to be in a word processing document. It can be in an email message. It can be in a text message, in the Messages app, in a file name. And in Safari, I'll show you a little thing that I do that helps me organize my favorites. Okay, now there's a place in, yeah, okay, here we go. So if you go to system, yeah, Molly?
It was Control, Command, and
space bar.
Okay, great, thanks.
Control, Command, space bar. There are other ways to get to it though, and this is one of the things that I'm going to show you here. So if you open System Preferences on Mac OS and go to the Keyboard System Preference pane, and then click on Input Sources, there is a checkbox in the bottom here that says Show Input Menu in Menu Bar. And that's what this little icon is right up here. Let me see that little icon there to the left of my arrow. That's what that checkbox is putting into my menu bar. If I turn that off, it goes away. You'll see it go away, come back. Well, now I've got to change my, wait, there it is. Okay. So if I click on it, I've got two options. I can show my keyboard viewer, which is just showing me a graphical layout of my keyboard that I'm using, or I can show the emoji and symbols. So this is what brought that up. And there's a toggle, which makes it even bigger and more useful. And you can change the size of this window, this floating palette. Let me put it on the side over here, bring back, whoops, there we go. Put it on the side over here and I can make this even bigger. Where's the, there we go. And this little gizmo gives me a lot more options. It does have the emoji set and it has the categories here, and you can click on a category and find watermelon if you need to eat some watermelon in your text messaging. But it also has things like at the top, frequently used. So I got frequently used emojis. I can also assign favorites. So if I have a bunch of fractions here and I can express a fraction. If I want to express a fraction with a true fraction, I put it in my favorites and I can get to it real quick. But there's all kinds of glyph options here: arrows, currency, pictographs, bullets, stars, math, symbols. Aha, pi. Where's pi? Let's search for pi. You're not going to give me the Greek pi symbol? Well, that's disappointing. Well, anyway, you can probably find it in the math symbols someplace here.
Yeah, it's probably under math symbols.
Yeah, that's not pi there. Where is it? Anyway, and of course, emoji. So in this particular case, this floating palette stays there, and you have to double click the emoji to insert it wherever the insertion point is. Unlike the floating palette that comes up with Command Control Spacebar, once you click on an emoji and get it in there, it goes away. This one stays in place. And if I double click, I can insert it and I can keep looking for other emojis to add in without it going away automatically. So that's nice and convenient if you want to insert multiple emojis or other glyphs into a document or into your text message or whatever else. I did mention that this capability is available anywhere you edit text. Let's say I want to save this file, brings up this file save menu, save dialog box, and I'm gonna put emoji demo. But what if I just want to use an emoji character for the word emoji? Let's see, if I go over here, click on smileys and double click that, I can insert an emoji as part of the file name in this dialog box where I'm saving this file. And I click on save, and now you see it also in the title bar at the top here, the name of my file is. So you can insert emojis into everything. If I switch over to the Finder, let's hide everything else, open a new window, you can still see my screen.
Paul Lewis asked a question.
Yes, thank you. When you were talking about inserting a fraction, can you change that fraction size to match the type that you have in your message?
It'll always come in the same font size as whatever you happen to be using.
Okay.
In the context. Yeah.
Okay, but it will be the same type style. In other words,
correct. Yeah. So many fonts have built-in actual fractions, but we don't know about them because there's no key on the keyboard that you can type 1/8, for instance.
Exactly.
So this will come in at whatever. So you'll notice that if I look at my font menu, this particular 1/8 glyph is in Lycida Grand, but I can change it to Helvetica.
Oh, okay.
or Times New Roman. And the fraction glyph takes on the characteristics of whatever font you happen to be using, or whatever you can change it. You can change it to
Okay.
after the fact as well.
So if you're in Times New Roman, the fraction will go in as Times New Roman at the same size as the text.
As long as the Times New Roman font has the Unicode glyph for that 1/8 character or whatever fraction.
I
So
see.
not all fonts have all these same glyphs, but the Unicode Consortium provides the framework for fonts to have all these glyphs, but the font maker has to actually create the glyph and put it in for that code.
Got it.
So
Interesting.
not all fonts would have it, but if your font has it, then it'll be styled just like the rest of the text. Yes.
Well, and one would assume then that the fractions would be typically ones that are very commonly used.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Like, 1/8, 1/4, 1/2, 3/4, that sort of thing.
Yeah. If you want a fraction like 27/358, you probably have to create that one yourself somehow.
Oh,
Like
cool.
superscript / subscript. Yeah. Okay, where was I? Okay, back to the Finder here. Here's a file I just saved, and it's got that emoji character in it. And I can also, use that on the fly. So let's say I create a new folder. Okay, so I created a new folder, and I want to put an emoji character in it. Here I just brought up the palette again. And let's say this is a folder where I'm going to write about strawberries. I can just put a strawberry in the name. And now I have a folder for strawberry documents. So this works anywhere, of course. Messages. Let's send, here's John. Look at there. There's some emoji I sent to John.
Yep, looks just like you, Barry.
You insert them just like you would anywhere else on the Mac. You can bring up the floating palette, Command Control Spacebar, or you can use the menu item to show the keyboard viewer. Not the keyboard viewer, sorry, the emoji character viewer. One last thing about inserting emoji. I'm going to go back to Safari. I want you to notice my favorites bar here. I'll zoom in and you'll notice I have emojis. So in my favorites organization, here I have a folder that has art related links. I have a painting palette here. Here's a folder that I have blogs, and I have a handwriting with a pencil. Here's a computer, and I have computer related links. So I've inserted emojis instead of typing out words to save space, so I could have more folders across my favorite bar. So, and I just have to say, oh, this is reference material, books.
Barry?
Yeah.
I can't raise my hand. That's why I have to interrupt you.
No problem.
Did you come up with that on your own, or did you garner from somebody? Because it's brilliant.
I think I may have seen somebody or heard somebody talk about doing it, and so I tried it. I don't think I came up with it on my own. I hardly have any original ideas.
No, okay, yeah. But I mean, that is brilliant.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah, that's it really comes in handy. So think about using emoji in other places than where you might originally. I mean, just to send messages to other people, that seems like a given. Yeah, I want to express, I want to give my wife a virtual kiss. I use the kiss emoji when I send her a message. So, but I can use emoji in a lot of different places. So there we go. Oh, wait, no, I don't want to stop sharing. Oh, maybe I do. Do we have any questions?
Quick one,
Paul.
just a sort of a semantic thing. Is emoji as a word both singular and plural, or do you say emoji and emojis?
I believe it's both singular and plural. There's no S for the plural. Hi, Maureen.
Hello. I went to go do the system preference method. I found it the other method with this control command spacebar.
Yeah.
However, I am in Mojave.
Oh, okay, so it's probably in a different panel.
So I have input sources up right now, but it's just a keyboard.
And it doesn't have a checkbox for showing the thing in the menu bar.
Yes, it does. Show input menu in menu bar, and I have it checked.
So it should be in the menu bar then. Looks like a little miniature window. Well, actually, it may actually also look like a flag.
You're right.
You have an American flag in your menu
You're
bar?
right. No, I got it. It actually looks like a box with a little fan in the bottom right-hand corner.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's kind of a weird thing to describe what it looks like, but yes,
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Okay.
It's a small icon with minimal number of pixels available, so it's kind of a strange illustration.
Okay, so this has been super groovy for the expressive, artistic, creative side that wants to have a little fun. Yeah. I didn't know you could do it in all those places. I just went on to Facebook, and it's easier to do it from your own keyboard than the Facebook emoji thing is really cumbersome.
Yeah, it's much easier. I always do that too. If I'm on Facebook, I'll insert it with
But how fun
system controls.
Put them in a file. I just labeled this document for MVCUG for my notes with emojis, and we'll see.
There you go.
I better put MVCUG on there too, but, but yeah, that's very fun.
Okay.
I emoji people all the time.
Anybody else? All right, then we're back to sharing. And what's the next one? Inserting emoji on iOS. Oh, let's look at that then. I've got my phone here. Wake up. Oh, look at there. My weather says flurries starting in Hereford 37 minutes ago. Well, I don't think we got anything. Oh, my wife just yelled we did. Okay. How do we insert emoji? Well, I'm going to go to the Messages app because that's the place we normally do this. I guess normally I'll send John another emoji. I'm not really sleeping. Oh, he's sleeping. Are we boring you, John?
No.
Okay. So in the Messages app, of course, you can type a message. You get the regular keyboard on iOS. When you type, you'll notice auto insert menu right above the keyboard will provide you some suggestions based on what you've typed. I typed the word pizza and notice that on the right-hand side above the letter O, it's saying you can use a pizza emoji for that. If I tap on it, it replaces the word with the emoji. So that's one way you can insert an emoji on iOS. Just type a word and watch to see if it's going to suggest something for you. I can go back to happy. And you know, when I did a search for happy on the Mac, it gave me a grid of, I don't know, maybe a couple of dozen or so happy emojis, but on iOS, it's only going to show you probably a maximum of 3. Now, if you look down at the space bar, just to the left, you'll see a little smiley face. Guess what? Tap that, and you get the emoji keyboard on iOS, which gives you access to all of the same emoji character categorized glyphs. You can tap on the little tiny icon on the bottom to change the category. And if you go all the way to the right, you've got flags. The little clock on the left-hand side next to ABC is your frequently used. And if you look right above the emojis, there's also a search field here. So I can search for happy again here, and I get more than I did when I typed happy with a regular keyboard, but I'm still not seeing the entire a number that we're showing on the Mac. When you tap the arrow key on the text field there, it sends that text. That's the basic way. Anywhere you can enter text with the built-in system keyboard, almost anywhere. I don't think it's everywhere like on the Mac, but almost everywhere on iOS, you'll get that emoji thing. Of course, in the social media apps, Facebook, for instance, if you want to make a Facebook post, what's on my mind? If I'm typing, you can use Facebook's emojis, but you can also use the iOS ones. Now, it's going to show up on your device using the glyphs in the design that your device has. But if someone else is viewing your Facebook post, for instance, on a Windows machine or on an Android phone, they're not going to see the same emoji design that you put in. They're going to see what their device has programmed, the actual visual. And some of them will even be different. So for instance, if I say gun, on iOS, Apple uses a squirt gun for gun. It's hard to see, I know. But other systems actually use a different, like a revolver, a regular pistol with bullets. So sometimes the emoji character used is going to be a lot different even for the same word or the same idea. And so you have to keep that in mind sometimes when you're sharing across platforms, because what you intend to show might not show up on the other end the way you think it's going to. So it's actually probably better to stick with things like hearts. Let's see, let me open, I have a text editor here. So here's just a text editor on iOS. And sure enough, I've got the same emoji keyboard. I can put emojis in my text, in my document. Any other questions? LaRue.
Yes, would you please say again how you got the Safari favorites in the bar across the top?
Okay. I can actually demo how I did that if you'd like.
Okay.
So I'm showing Safari here.
Okay.
So in order to add them to first of all, in the view menu, you need to have your favorites bar showing if you're going to use it this way. So mine says hide favorites bar in the view menu because it's already showing. But if your favorites bar isn't even showing up, I'm going to go view, show favorites bar.
Oh, fantastic.
Now you have to edit these things. You do have to go into your bookmarks and edit bookmarks. And your favorites bar is the very top. Usually the top item in the list. So then you just click on the folder that, if it needs to be a folder.
Okay.
If you're going to group a bunch of stuff together. If it's just a single site, well, actually I guess you could rename, you could rename any website favorite and put an emoji in there, I suppose. I don't know what to use for eBay, but
money disappearing.
Yeah, right. Let's see what comes up with money. Here's money flying. Yeah, money's flying away if you use eBay. So I double clicked it and then, so then I hit the enter key. So my eBay bookmark now is just money. So if I look, let me see, that's under, oh, it's under eBay. So now, yeah, the actual bookmark for that website, you can even use a emoji for. But if you have a folder, like I have this folder for art related websites, you right click on it, choose rename, and then you can type anything you want, including any emoji. Does that cover it?
Yes, thank you.
Barry, there's
You're welcome.
another way of doing it. If you go up and bring up the startup screen, you can edit it right from the startup screen.
The start. You mean in Safari startup?
Yes. Go down to favorites.
I don't show my favorites here. Oh, okay. So you can edit it. You have to right click on it. Oh, yeah. Okay. So if under the latest version of Safari, which runs in Catalina and Big Sur, I'm not sure about Mojave. This will be Safari 15, no 14. Safari 14. If you got Safari 14, you have this new start page layout. You can customize the background, and this little menu at the bottom right with the little hamburger or slider thing, you can choose what to show. I normally don't have my favorites there because I have my favorites bar. It takes up less space at the top of the window than this interface for me. But if you have your favorites showing, you can change those. Oops, like you can change these by right-clicking on it. Frequently used, money flying away. There we go. My eBay folder is now renamed with an emoji. Anything else? How to share photos, email, specifically via email and using text messages. So, Mike, you want to share some photos from Windows?
Sure.
Where's my stop? There we go.
All right. Let me do the share. Okay. I wasn't really too sure how to approach this because actually in Windows doesn't actually share photos. It's the applications that do that. Under email, Windows native application is Mail, which I'm not familiar with. I don't have it set up. If you subscribe to Microsoft 365, you might use Outlook, which has been around for a long time. Personally, I personally use Gmail myself, so that's what I'm going to go with. But the process is the same for every program I've ever seen. So I'm going to go to Compose. I would, of course, type in a subject recipient, just on general principles, just to have somebody there. Although I don't intend to send this actually. Photos.
Oh, do, because I can show the other end.
Oh, okay. A couple ways you can do this. I've got some photos over here. I'm going to drag one of these over. Okay, there's a couple different ways you can go to share photos. One is most programs will allow you to do this. I'll just drag and drop it over, and there it is. This is what's called an inline file attachment. You can actually see what it is. You have no choice about whether or not you're going to download it. There it is. I generally don't do this too often like this, simply because it's an old habit from the days when a lot of people had slower bandwidth connections. And if you were to bless somebody with an email that had a 5 or 10 megabyte photo back in the day when we all had dial-up, you would probably be cursing under your breath for the next half hour or so. So I generally got in the habit of doing the other way, which is simply a file attachment. And usually it is the showing a paperclip. And I bring that up, Linux on Windows, which is the same file. Click on that. And instead of the inline, it actually has an attachment here that allows it to download. Actually, this JPEG is not too bad, 227K. So I'm going to send that to Barry, so he will be blessed with it. Message sent. One thing I like about Gmail that they put on, you have an option where you actually have about 20 seconds to undo if you choose to do so. After 20 seconds or so, this little box will go away, and I can't recall it after that.
Mike?
Yeah.
One thing which should be emphasized is that photos being attached to an email message should always be under 1 meg in size.
Okay.
So if the attachment is bigger than that, you need to go back in your photo editing program and compress it.
Right.
Okay.
Or one of my favorite ways is just to find a website that you can host it on and send the link to a link to the file so they can download it if they should so choose.
That's even better.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and hit I'm going to go ahead and hit texting here at the same moment, because this isn't going to take very long. Again, since Windows doesn't have a mobile phone anymore, there's no texting with that. I was really curious when we came up with this as to what I can do under Windows, if there was anything at all. I wasn't aware of anything. Turns out that Windows actually has an app called Your Phone. And I was like, okay, I wonder what I can do with this. So I went and started playing with it and installed it. And turns out that I could actually attach my phone to my desktop through the Your Phone app. If I go here to settings.
Now that's something I didn't know anything about.
And it's, let's see what's new. And it's not going to let me figure out how to get to the settings. Okay, here's the thing. When I set this up, it gives you the choice. What kind of phone do you want to link, an iPhone or an Android? Of course, I have an iPhone. I went ahead and linked it. That's when I found out that it's very limited in what you can do with iPhone. I assume this is because iPhone, of course, being an Apple product, is pretty well closely guarded with what other applications can do with it. Turns out, as I was linking it up, the instructions it gave me was, okay, go to your iPhone and download Microsoft Edge. But, okay, that's a little odd, but all right. Turns out the reason for that is the only thing I can do with this link is I can browse Microsoft Edge on my iPhone and then resume the browsing session on my desktop. That's the only thing that links. Because I thought that I'd be able to like see my text and stuff, and I can't with the iPhone. Now, when the other option it gives you is to link an Android, and that one, just from what I was able to get into it, looks like it's much more like what you would expect. You can do pretty much everything with the Android. You can get to the text through your desktop and all that. But for this, no, that's about all I can do with that. What can do there? So if you have an iPhone, this is pretty limited with what you can do. An Android, you could probably do a lot more. That's as far as I was able to get for texting on Windows itself. So
there's not a text messaging app in and of itself on Windows then.
Not that I know of. I'm sure I could probably find some third party, but
not from Microsoft. Yeah,
not from Microsoft. Not that I was able to come up with. Well, let me take a look at the Microsoft store.
It'd be surprising to me that they didn't, because it seems like they've got apps for just about everything on Windows, like Apple does on their platform.
I think so. Let's see. Okay, Liquid Text first thing. Okay, I find it interesting that this says named most innovative iPad app of the year in the Microsoft store.
Now available for Windows. I've heard of Liquid Text. That's not text. That's actually not text messaging.
You're right. It's more of a text editor. Looks like text messages. Okay, and it has preloaded texts apparently. Okay, so it looks like we're fairly limited here.
Yeah.
Although if you search around for third-party apps, you could probably find something. To me, texting is a mobile experience. That's just the way I kind of think of it. So we're kind of limited here. So I am going to throw it back over to you, Barry.
What was the name of that application? Liquid Text?
Yeah, Liquid Text was the text editor, the first one.
Interesting. There is no such app on the iPhone.
No, it's iPad only, John.
Oh.
Yeah.
And apparently now Windows. I don't know if there's a Mac version, but iPad and Windows. All right. So here I am at the other end of Mike's email. He sent me the photo, and guess what, Mike? When you dragged it in, it still came over to me as an actual attachment. It's showing it, both of them in line, but they are both. I mean, it's just two files, the same file. All right. So if I'm going to send an email. I'll send one back to Mike. And basically it's the same kind of thing I can do here. Here's a photo I have on my desktop. It just happens to be a screenshot like Mike's was. I can drag it in from the desktop and there it is.
But there's a huge difference, Barry, need to point out.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. I am going to do that. But also at the insertion point down here, I can also click on the paperclip and I can search for and find a photo from anywhere on my computer, including, I don't know how many Mac users know this, but you scroll in an open dialog or a choose file dialog information directly in this dialog, and you can choose a photo from your Photos app without even having to open the Photos app on your Mac. I can choose this file. This is the shot that I took this morning of our snow, and it's also being displayed in line, but these are both going to be sent as attachments. You'll notice that the message size right now is 19.9 megabytes.
Thanks,
and
Barry.
if we're going to get down to that 1 megabyte threshold that John was talking about, we're going to need to do something. Now, as John mentioned, I could go into the Photos app, or Photoshop or some other image editor, even Preview on the Mac, and resample it and size it down. But look at this menu in Apple Mail. On the right-hand side, I have image size. I can choose to send actual size, the original image, or I can size it down. And this will apply to every attachment if I don't have anything selected. So now it makes them smaller. And now my message size is 420 kilobytes instead of 19 megabytes. So if you're sending email or photos in email, and it's not important for the recipient to have an actual size, high resolution image that you happen to be sending them, if it's just for reference or for, even if I go to medium, I can get a little bit larger image, but it puts me at 1.5 or so, 1.6 megabytes, which that's probably tolerable. But if it's not important for your recipient to have the full size original image and you're sending from a Mac using Apple Mail, this is nice. You can make it smaller, make the message trimmer. It'll send and transmit and get received faster, no matter what internet connection someone has. And at least they can see a reference. If it's just going to be viewed on screen, that's probably plenty big enough. There it goes, off to Mike. I think we should probably take a break now, right, John? Unless someone has a question.
I think you're right. It's just about coming up on that time. So let's take a 5-minute break, everybody, and we'll see you back in 5 minutes.
I see Gene has a question. We'll take your question right when we get back, Gene, okay?
Okay, we're back on. Barry, you there? Yeah, Barry's there. Barry, Mike, you guys ready?
I'm here.
Okay, is everybody else here? Let's give everyone a few more minutes. We got a lot of people muted. Let's just wait a few more seconds.
I received that email the same way that you sent it, Barry, with the inline attachments.
By the way,
are they
Liquid Text? Are you familiar with it, Barry?
What's that?
Liquid Text.
No, I just heard the name. I'm not familiar with the app at all.
Well, I downloaded and took a look at it, and it's a document editing program that includes you being able to grab web pages and bring excerpts from it. It's actually a pretty cool little app. I'm really surprised. I'd never heard of it.
Cool.
I don't know if it's available for the Mac or not.
Since it's available on Windows, I would guess it's probably available on the Mac too, I would think.
But Mike, is definitely worth checking out.
Okay.
Mac App Store probably.
On iOS, because it does, you know, it allows you to go in and grab easily sections of text out of just about anything and do markups for grading. And the regular version is free, and the pro version is only $30.
The next bit would be email on iOS. Is everybody want to see that, or should we move faster through into the next stuff? Let's have a vote. Oh, Gene had a question first. That's right. Gene, ask your question. Thanks for reminding me.
After you send a message, which you have reduced down to be less than 1 megabyte, can the person receiving the photo blow it up again with the touch system?
Well, they could zoom in on it. They're not gonna make it a better, larger quality file. It'll come across as a smaller file, but they could zoom in on it
and resave it as a JPEG or something, and
sure,
then enlarge it from there.
Yeah. But enlarging a pixel-based image is going to
might not be the same quality.
It's going to lower it's not going to be as good a quality as a higher resolution image originally sent, that was sent originally. Certainly just zooming in on it on your computer screen or your phone screen, you could see it better. But zooming in on it is different than actually enlarging the image, the file itself. So enlarging, like if it's 600 pixels across, and you try to resample it and enlarge it to twice that dimension, 1200 pixels across. Basically, you're taking 1 pixel and making it into 4 pixels, and so you're not actually getting a better quality image. You're just making a larger, blockier looking image. So
I think some programs will actually try to extrapolate out what it thinks you're going for, but your results may vary.
Certainly, that is the case. And in fact, I don't know, John, did you see this? Photoshop is now native on Apple Silicon. Came out this past week. The update did.
Yeah, I saw that.
And the new version of Camera Raw, the built-in AI they have, the Adobe Sensei stuff. Now there's a setting where you can double the image size and keep basically the same quality as the original.
It is very, that's been available as a beta for quite a while.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing what they've done now, been able to extrapolate image data and make a smaller image larger.
Yes.
and make it look just as good as it was before.
Well, I was thinking one of the meetings coming up, we don't have a full topic, is going in and showing some of the Sensei items that are coming out in Photoshop as part of the neural program, because some of those are just amazing. Being able to go in and age people, being able to go in and make people younger, turning heads, really opening eyes, putting a smile on somebody that's forgot to smile, and a real smile.
Yeah, well, we got 2 or 3 meetings without a topic coming up. So
we do.
Yeah.
Oh, then that would be a perfect topic.
It's in my last slide, in fact, or one of my last slides. Okay. So jumping back to attaching email, or attaching photos to email messages. Everybody okay with me showing it on iOS now?
Yeah.
Okay. So we will share I think I'll just share the iPhone by itself. Wake up. Let's go into, yeah.
For some reason, you're not showing up as a speaker. Is anybody else having that problem?
Well, can you see my phone screen though?
Yeah, we can see the iPhone screen, but it's got me as the speaker. Oh, there we go. I pinned it for some reason.
It's okay. All right, so here we are. Here's my mail on my iPhone. Same, you can see that there's the message I just sent to or that I received from Mike. So I'm going to make a new message. I'll go ahead and do this one as well to Mike. What the hey? You want two messages from me, right, Mike?
Hey, make my day.
Of course, I can type a message, but to put a photo into an email message on the iPhone, it's not readily apparent. There's a couple of different ways of doing it. You can see that now that I have an insertion point in the message or the body of a message here. I've got a row of icons right above the keyboard. So text means I'm going to format the text. I'll go back to this. I got to type something again, it looks like. Where did it go? Oh, if you don't see those icons, there's a little arrow on the very far right-hand side, right above the P. If I tap that, that brings in these icons. And formatting text is that first one. But if I want to insert a photograph, I got two options. I can tap this next icon over. It looks like a stack of photos, and it brings me to my photos interface. Oh, here's my new grandniece. I'm sure Mike wants a picture of Sophie Rose. She was born on March 2nd. What? First, March 2nd. March 1st. My wife's yelling, correcting me from the other room. Anyway, and that's actually a capture from a FaceTime call. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. So that's one way of inserting a photo. I can also use the camera on my phone. So if I tap the phone camera, now I can take a picture of my new iMac, which is not so new anymore, but there it is. Use photo. And so a new niece and a new computer, or grandniece, I should say. My nephew's and his wife's first child. There we go. My brother's granddaughter. Okay. So now I've got two photos. They look inline too, but they are attachments. They're going to be attachments. The Mac or the Apple platform native mail apps always show attachments inline, even if they're true attachments. I don't know how they get it interpreted by other email systems on the other end. Mike, you said that those ones I sent before, they were just images inline, they weren't attachments?
Yes, they were inline.
New SMTP email standard treats all visual attachments as inline if sent that way.
So how would Mike actually get an actual attachment then if I wanted to send
it exceeds the ability for the program to display it.
Or
okay.
Of course, I can always download it as well.
Right. So if it can,
you can.
Oh yeah.
If it can show it inline, it will. If it can't, it won't.
I see. Okay. All right. So I'm going to tap on the up arrow, which means send. in the top right. And look at, it's giving me these same options. As I was looking on a Mac mail, I can change the size. If I want to send actual size images, 3.3 megabytes, or I can send small ones, and off it goes. So there is actually one other way.
Oh.
If you have a message and your insertion point is in the text of the body, if you tap and hold there, you'll get this popover menu that allows you to select and copy and paste and whatever else. But if you tap on the little arrow to the right, you can insert a photo or video or add a document there as well. And there's other options too. Scan a document, insert a drawing. What it does, it creates a place where you can actually draw on the screen. So there are other options, always more than one way to insert something. These icons here also do the same thing. There's scan a document, there's or insert a document, scan a document, and draw as well right there. So I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on how to format text on an email, but there's those options too. Any questions? Well, while I'm here, I'm going to cover messages as well. So if I send, I'll go to John because he's at the top, and I want to send a photo to John. I have a camera icon at the bottom left of the messages stream. I can take a photo, probably wants a photo of me, right? I can take a video, all kinds of different ways of doing photos here. Or if you look at the top left, there's that stack of photo icons looking thing again. If I tap that, it actually takes me to photos, and I can send a photo of snow to John. Now, I don't have the sizing options here. Guess what? It's just going to send a standard size, but it's not sending the full size original. I don't believe, is it? I don't think your messages doesn't send full size originals. It scales them down.
Yeah.
Do you know how far it goes?
Messages does scale them down.
Do you know what the I don't know what the actual size it's using.
No. I've never been able to figure that one out, and quite honestly, it varies from picture to picture.
Well, then it may depend on the original size. It may be based on, it may do a scaling algorithm, and then if you have a really large original, the size you send may be bigger than if you have a smaller original.
Are you going to cover how to delete these out of your photo cache and how to save them?
I've forgotten. Where do you do that?
Go back to your picture.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I can delete it from this message stream, but that's just that one.
Yeah, they show them that one, and then we'll show them how to do the others.
It must not have sent you any pictures, very many pictures. There's a way of showing all pictures that you've ever sent, isn't there?
Yes, there is. Go back to the opening. Go pick a person.
Oh, it's just with a person.
Yeah, by person. Go up to their name. Click info. Scroll down.
See all photos. All the photos I've sent to my lovely wife.
Yes. Then you can select and delete them. And this is where a lot of space gets taken up on the iPhone. A lot of space.
Now, if you select them, you can also save them.
Yes.
At the bottom, you'll notice save or delete. So if it's like something that somebody sent to you and you want to keep it, but you want to delete it out of your messages, you can do it that way. Okay, the next topic is how to manage desktop debris. Does your Windows desktop look like this? Can you having a hard time finding what you want to find? Well, how about your Mac? It's prettier, but it's still got a bunch of debris on it. Why hide those pretty pictures with all those icons? Let's deal with this icon debris and find out how to change that. All right, we're going to go to Mike first.
Oh, of course we are.
Clean up your Windows
All right.
desktop there, Mike.
All right. Let's see here. Let's share this screen. Okay. Actually, mine is not looking too bad at the current moment. Well, let me move this one back over here.
Yours is great, actually, from a lot of Windows.
I actually cleaned it up about a month ago. It's kind of funny because Windows has a tendency to not put a lot of stuff on the desktop itself. Usually when you install something, it will often give you the option, do you want to install a desktop icon and or do you want to install it in start menus? So it actually keeps it fairly easy to keep clean. However,
I'm so glad that's an option because it wasn't always that way.
Right, yes. But way back in the day, when I started working with computers, I worked with the Macintosh 2, and that kind of created habits. And one of my coworkers a few years back mentioned, you know, you really like to treat your Windows desktop like a Mac. I always like to put stuff I'm actually working with on the desktop so it's available to me there. For example, these icons that are right here, these are things I was working on for this presentation. So I have them out there. I'll get rid of them later. First thing you probably want to think about as far as organizing your desktop goes is what do I really need to have there? Something I've done is I created a single folder called Labyrinth because this computer is named Minotaur. So, and inside of that, I categorized.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I thought so. Everything that winds up on the desktop, I organize in here eventually so that it's not too far away. I can get to it, but I don't have things too cluttered here. Turns out some things really want to live on the desktop. For example, Evernote, it doesn't give you the option. By golly, it is going on the desktop. That's the way it is. I think Oracle VirtualBox is the same way. I think that's why I had that there as well. So that's the first thing is try to think about keeping it from getting as messed up as you can. But then there's other options that you can actually look at to configure your desktop. On Windows, I'm going to look at two primary areas here. One is personalizing the actual background, and the other is personalizing the taskbar. So to personalize the background, I'm going to right-click on here, and this is going to show me a few things I can do with the background. If I go to View, this lets me gives me some options for the icons. I have it set for medium icons. If I set it to large, they're obviously much more visible. They take up a lot more room. If I go to small, then for me, they take up a lot less room, but for me, they're a little harder to see. I rather like the medium myself. I can sort them by name or by size, which I don't really have too much use for, by the type, which this actually does come in handy every now and again, or by the date that I modified. So the most recent things I worked on are up in this level here. So I'm going to set that back to type. And actually later on, I'll probably just drag and drop stuff to where it suits me. Oh, every now and again, I've noticed when I add an icon or something, or if I install a file, I'll tell it to go to the desktop and I won't see it. This is where refresh comes in. You will actually refresh the desktop, and often it'll bring in an item that should be there that didn't show up. F5 will also do the same thing. I've gotten used to doing that over the years. I can undo move, which is a Control Z. This one is unique to me, NVIDIA control panel, because I have an NVIDIA video board. Next desktop background. That rather goes, okay, I'll go with that. Next background. That goes with the way that I actually have set up my backgrounds. I'll get to that in a second. New, this is handy. Any kind of document that Windows knows about, it gives you the option to create right here. So I can create a folder or a shortcut or any of these items that I actually have the programs installed for. To include a zipped folder, a compressed folder, that's kind of neat. Display settings will simply bring up the Windows display settings as a shortcut. And personalize is where it takes me to where I can actually manage things like my background. For your background, you can just put in a picture of whatever you'd like. For example, if you just want a nice static picture, or you can just give it a solid color if you decide you don't want anything else. Wow, that's a little bright. Okay, let's go for something a little more somber. Or as I like to do a slideshow. I've mentioned in the past, and let me browse. I mentioned in the past that I actually go with a website called Digital Blasphemy. Choose this folder, and I've got probably about 1,000 JPEGs in there. I've got it set to shuffle and to change picture every 10 minutes. And if they're a little bit smaller, it will stretch to fit things. And from here, I can also change, besides the background, colors, the color scheme. I can set it if I want to lock the screen or not, which I generally don't since this desktop doesn't go anyplace else. I can choose different themes that are available to me, whatever fonts I want to use. Start menu. Here's where I can actually have a few options for the start menu. I can set it to show more tiles, show the app list, show recently added apps, which I have, show suggestions occasionally. I turn that off. You start full screen, I turn that off, and show recently opened items. So this dictates what this looks like when I open it up. So I've got a little bit of control over that on this. And taskbar. This is actually the next thing I was going to go to. You can get to this also by right-clicking on the taskbar, and it will bring this up. Different things I can do. I can lock the taskbar, which means it is currently set in place. Or if I right-click on it, I've got the option here. If I unlock it, now I can move my taskbar around a bit. I can move it to either side, top, or bottom. I tend to like it there. Different toolbars that I can actually show, address, links, desktop, or I can actually create or show a new toolbar. Whether or not I show the search icon or a search box, you can see I have it set right now to just show a search icon. So I got the little magnifying glass down here. I can actually just show the search box. That takes up more room down here if I do that. And it makes it difficult to right click on it once you run out of room. Oh, what else do I have here? Automatically hide the taskbar in desktop mode. I usually turn that off myself, but that way, once you're not actually using the desktop, the taskbar, it will disappear until you mouse over it. Then I'll bring it up. Like you see, there's just a bunch of different things. Here's another way I can move it around. I like it on the bottom. One thing you can do with it is you can control how much stuff appears down here. You can set it to automatically combine if you have like several Word documents open, whether or not it actually combines them all. I just tell it to do that only when the taskbar is full. Notification area, that's the area over here that shows which icons appear. Turn system icons on or off. This shows which icons appear down here. I show the clock, the volume, the network. Some of these I probably should just go ahead and turn off. Microphone, seeing as how I don't have a microphone except for my webcam. Meet now. Oh yeah, that was something that appeared about 3 months ago that they added in a Windows 10 update. Since I don't use this for any kind of group conferencing, I turned it off. Otherwise, I get this little icon of a watch that shows up on my taskbar and takes up a little bit of space.
Is that for Microsoft Teams or any kind of?
I think it is. Yeah, I think it is.
Calendar item.
I think it's for Teams. And I can also show combine buttons on other taskbars. I always hide labels just because I try to take up room and people. Oh. And that's where I can do that. Show search icon. Give me some room back there. Okay. Except most of what this does is it's actually a different way of doing things, a different way to get there. show Windows Inc. workspace button. Well, you can also control what you're doing here with the windows, cascade windows, show windows stacked, show windows side by side. So if I have a lot of windows open, I can arrange them automatically here. Show the desktop. If I do that, it just automatically sends everything back. Show open windows. I got them back. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention is view. Didn't make it past these. I can either align icons to a grid so that they're always lined up, and I can auto arrange icons. If I have that set, then whenever I create an icon, it will automatically snap it over there. And here's something that, here's something we had a lot of fun with back in the office. Show desktop icons. If you really want to mess with somebody and they kept their system unlocked, you can get rid of all their icons. They're still there, you just can't see them. And when they first came up with that capability, it was a lot of fun to mess with people because they didn't know what was going on.
That's a good April Fool's joke, right?
It is, and that's what we used it for. By the way, April 1st is coming up.
It is.
Or as I call it, Internet Cleanup Day.
So don't let Mike have access to your desktop.
Yes. Remember, on April 1st, disconnect from the network so that the internet vacuum cleaners don't get rid of all the dead bits, as we used to say. So, okay, and that is about all I'm going to do with that. I see we're kind of running down on time. Barry, I was thinking that since we don't have a topic for next month, we may want to carry over with our leftovers here and perhaps add to it for another how-to.
Oh man, I think you were reading my mind.
I thought I might be. I'm going to stop sharing and turn it back over.
I agree. I think it's an excellent idea. We'll end up, does anybody have any questions on anything we've talked about today or the past, or what we might talk about in the future?
I have.
Yeah, Paul.
There's a quick question. I recently bought a new television and connected it to the Wi-Fi I have here at the house. And I wondered if I could get some help from anybody, some tips about what I do to, like a wireless keyboard or mouse or whatever, to be able to communicate with that television and make it like a monitor, or, how I can use it on the internet.
Yeah, Barry or I could definitely come over and help you with that one. Or
I'm not sure I would be qualified for that. I'm not sure.
But I'll tell you right now, natively, what you'll be able to do is the apps that come with the TV set. Now, in some cases, you may be able to add to it, but browsing the internet, probably not. I don't know many that have an internet browser or one that's hooking up.
Usually there are services like YouTube that may have an app built in, but that's just YouTube, not the entire web.
The wireless keyboards, probably not.
Yeah, I've never heard. Do smart TVs have Bluetooth for connecting?
Oh yeah, some
keyboards. I didn't know that.
Or headphones.
I was just wondering, okay, now that it's connected to my Wi-Fi, what can I do with it? Is the main.
You can activate the apps that come with it. When you start up the TV set, there should be a menu for the applications that came with it.
Right.
And it's, you may get Disney Plus, you may get Apple Plus,
Paramount Plus.
Which one?
Paramount Plus. They're all pluses now.
Oh yeah.
They? Yeah.
But there'll be a whole bunch of apps that you'll be able to use, and you're pretty much confined to that.
Okay.
And it allows you to stream their content directly to your TV without an additional box.
Now, some of them have Apple TV built into it. Now,
okay.
You have that, you have access to Apple TV, which means you can add almost unlimited apps to it.
And some have Amazon Fire built in as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I couldn't remember what it was called.
Amazon Fire or just Prime Video.
Oh, what model TV did you get? What's the brand and the model?
It's a TCL, and it's one of their 5 series. I don't have the exact model number right here.
Okay, yeah. TCL, yeah, I've seen that one around.
Yeah, it's but so basically you're saying then that I can tap into any apps that are on the TV that require an internet connection for streaming and such.
Correct.
Okay.
Can't you browse the internet using Chromecast?
That would require a separate device.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, the Chromecast allows you to mirror your computer image, your a device image for your browser.
It actually has more capabilities built in nowadays. You can actually use it more and more on its own. It's got more stuff built into it now.
Yeah, they're turning it into a regular streaming device.
Yeah.
It's designed to mirror, to some extent, a device.
Hang on.
Oh, keep that for the blooper reel.
Yeah.
I think Richard has a question.
I have a question on behalf of my wife. She wants to know how to transfer a picture from her phone to the computer.
Automatically.
Automatically?
Automatically?
Yes, I want to take a picture and have it end up on his computer.
Okay. First question we have to ask is what type of phone, what type of computer?
Say that again.
What type of phone, what type of computer?
Apple.
So you have an iPhone and a Macintosh.
Yep. No. Yeah. Well.
Go into here. Let me show you. Hang on a second. I just did this for a friend the other day.
And it looks like that particular series has support for the Roku app built into it. So you should be able to use Roku to get whatever channels that you'd like.
Yes, it does have Roku, and
Right.
the whole thing is just a big learning curve for me.
Sure.
So I'm just going through, icons and tapping on them and seeing, well, what does that do?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a good way to find out. Just explore.
Yeah. Right.
Okay, so I'm opening the Photos app on my phone. And let's say I want to take this picture of my new grandniece and put it on my computer or transfer it to my wife's computer, which is not on the same Apple ID because Apple IDs are personal. So if I tap on the share button in the bottom left, I'm going to get some suggestions right at the top here, but on the second row, you'll notice on the left is this item called Airdrop. If I open that, it's going to see any devices in my immediate area that I can send this photo to. So it has to be enabled on every device that you, or on the device you want to send it to. Now, right now, my computer, which is the same M1 Mac I'm transmitting from, is listed under devices, but pretend that's my wife's computer, and I would tap on it, and it would send a message. And in the case that since it's my computer, it's the same Apple ID, it will automatically just send it. So it says it's been sent. But if it's another Apple ID device, it's waiting for a confirmation on the other device. So my wife would have to be sitting at that other computer, and she would get a message, and an AirDrop window would pop up and saying, your husband's sending you a picture. Do you want to accept it? And then there'll be a button to tap to click on, say accept, or there's also a cancel or deny. I can't remember. And then it would download to her computer's download folder. So did that help, Richard?
Yep. I think, did it help you, dear?
Actually, no, I was looking for something more automatic than that.
Well, here's the deal with if you want automatic, like John said, the best thing is iCloud Photo Library or iCloud Photos. They took the word library off the end of it. So
shared album.
In settings, you go to go to your own ID and go to iCloud and Photos. The iCloud Photos item has to be turned on both devices, and they both have to be the same Apple ID. So this phone is my Apple ID, my Mac is my Apple ID.
Okay.
So whenever I take a photo on this phone with the camera, it goes into my library.
Right. For some.
And it's also uploaded automatically to iCloud. And then my Mac is set up to automatically download it from the same account. And when I open it on my Mac, that photo is there automatically.
Shared albums, Barry, might even work better for them.
Well, there's an idea you could do that from across an Apple ID from one Apple ID to another. You could use shared albums. Oh, it's going to start snowing here again. This is really probably something we should maybe put on the docket for a future meeting. Even though we've kind of gone through it before, but you can take a photograph and share it and put it into a shared album instead of eyedropping it or airdropping it. Now, here's the thing. If you have a family plan set up for your Apple ID family, there's a special photo album already created automatically called family. And anything you put into it will be shared to everybody in that family group.
Regardless of identity?
Regardless of Apple ID, as long as all the Apple IDs in your family group will get this album, and anything you put in it, everybody will get.
Whether they have the same ID or not.
Yes.
Correct. So, but that's family sharing, and that's also set up in your Apple ID section of your settings. So if you open the settings app on the iPhone, at the very top is your Apple ID.
Right.
You go into that, and then there's a family sharing item. Okay. If it's not set up, you'll be prompted to turn it on and add members. One person in your family is the administrator, and then you add others, either as parent guardians or organizers, which have basically admin privileges, or children, which have limited, you can limit things for the children. Right. John just highlighted it there. So you add a member, and so whoever's doing the organization adds the other person with their Apple ID, and then you will automatically have a shared family photo album created in iCloud. And when you take a picture, it'll be on your phone until you can add it you'll have to manually add it to the family album, but then it'll go to any computer or any device that's on that Apple ID.
Okay.
So there's several ways of doing it then.
So how do I add it to the album?
Okay, let me cancel out of this, go back to it. So I'm looking at my photos. I select the photo.
Okay.
Tap the share button, bottom left.
Okay.
And I'm going to scroll up until I see add to shared album. And then I can pick the album at the bottom of this pop-up. I have a whole bunch of shared albums, but I'm looking for the family one, which I share with my wife.
Okay.
Come on. And then I can type a comment. She doesn't have this photo, so I'll go ahead and send it to her. And then once I tap on post, it goes into that shared album.
Okay.
She'll get a notification. There's a new photo in your shared album, and she can look at it.
And you can select multiples at one time.
Yeah, you can do more than one photo at a time. Whoops, that's the wrong button.
Okay. I'll give it a try. And I'll call you.
Okay. Yeah, we can do a private Zoom session if you want.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Barry.
Where's my button? There, stop sharing.
Okay. Okay, does anybody else have anything else? Okay, if not, we'll see you all next month.